Do you know how good an expansion has to be to turn what was the biggest entertainment disappointment in my lifetime into one of my favorite things ever?
I've only had Arlo for a day and a half, but if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself.
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder, saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. Oh, and I'm going to be spoiling the entirety of Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. You have been warned. If at the start of 2023, you had told me by the end of the year that one of my favorite things would be Cyberpunk, I would have called you insane. I had tried to play that game every single year since it came out, and it always failed to meet my expectations. Even after Edgerunners came out and blew my mind, I couldn't go back to the game because it just wasn't fun to play. Even though I thought the character writing and the world building were phenomenal, I just couldn't enjoy the experience because the overall package sucked epic donkey balls. Imagine if a movie had hundreds, if not thousands, of unscheduled glitches and constantly crashed on you. Yeah, you would not enjoy the film. But everything changed the moment Phantom Liberty came out, because the moment I booted up the game, even without the DLC installed, the game actually worked. I actually enjoyed the experience and could appreciate the amazing writing. So I bit the bullet and I went ahead and bought Phantom Liberty. And oh boy, was that everything I ever actually wanted from Cyberpunk.
Not asking you to never give up. Sometimes you gotta let go. Just don't let anyone change who you are, okay?
Phantom Liberty took the themes, the plot, the world building, and the characters and turned it up to 11. The story of Phantom Liberty begins not long after V's final confrontation with the Voodoo Boys. A mysterious figure calling herself Songbird recruits V to help save the president of the NUSA. In exchange, V will get a cure for her relic problem. And I'm going to be referring to V as a woman from now on just because the voice actress did such an amazing job that I could not go back to the male version. Anyway, V sneaks into a sealed off section of Night City called Dogtown in order to rescue President Myers. And V actually manages to pull it off after fighting waves and waves of enemies and after defeating a robot boss that was better than the rest of the game put together. But while the president is safe, they've lost contact with Songbird. So now V has to team up with a bunch of secret agents in order to track her down and save her. And to get this out of the way, I would just like to say, you Songbird.
I hate you!
I'm not saying that she was written poorly at all. In fact, I think the character writing and the performance from the voice actress were phenomenal. There are very subtle details in Phantom Liberty to make you like Songbird. Number one, she gives you access to new powers. 2, she's always nice to you and always wants to be your friend. And 3, she's the only one of your allies that doesn't point a gun at you at the start. Think about it. Myers, Reed, and Alex, all phenomenal characters, and each of them threatened you when you first met them. When this happened to me, I felt a flash of annoyance at each of these characters. How dare they threaten me when I'm just trying to help them? All of V's allies in the main game were cautious of her at the start, but they didn't point a gun at her. But when I thought about it, they didn't exactly accept her with open arms right at the start either. But not Songbird. She was always full of kindness and smiles and always being helpful and complimentary to V. As such, I immediately knew that Songbird was a manipulative asshole that was planning to stab me in the back the moment that it would benefit her. Not to say that Myers, Reed, or Alex were ever completely on V's side, but they had the guns out and ready, while Songbird hid it behind her back. One side was very open about the fact that they would betray you at a moment's notice if you didn't do what they wanted. Meanwhile, the other side was using appeals to emotion all the time. Songbird does in fact have a very sad backstory, where her cockiness in her youth caused her to be recruited by the NUSA, and now she doesn't have a choice in anything in her life. A lot of Phantom Liberty is open to interpretation, but I did not ever feel like Songbird actually cared about V at all. To me, it seemed like Songbird was simply using V to obtain her freedom, all the while saying and showing the exact right things to make you pity her. I'm not saying that V's NUSA allies were any more trustworthy than Songbird, but they were very open about the fact that they were assholes. To me, it is way more preferable for people to be open about the fact that they're just using me as a tool, rather than being two-faced and pretending to be my friend.
Two-Face, Harvey Two-Face. No. No, you're not. Not yet.
In order to get the full picture of the Phantom Liberty story, you have to play each of the different endings. The first choice comes about whether to side with Reed or with Songbird. If you side with Songbird, you escape with her as your only ally in order to sneak into an airport so that you can board a shuttle and take her to the moon. Using Songbird's ability to manipulate the AI beyond the Black Wall, you fight through waves upon waves of NUSA soldiers who are just really doing their jobs, all the while being the reason that hundreds upon hundreds of innocent people are killed at that airport, only for a weakened and dazed Songbird to reveal that she was never planning to help you at all. There is only one cure, and she is planning to use it for herself. And the only reason she revealed this at all was either a sense of guilt, or because she was so out of it from using the Black Wall over and over again that she couldn't think straight. You then have your final choice for this path. Either you can kill Reed and send Songbird to the moon where she theoretically can get healed. I don't know if it actually happened. We're told that it is, but it could all be a lie. The strange Mr. Blue Eyes is involved, so who knows? Or you can betray Songbird at the last minute, handing her over to Reed and making everything that you just did and all of the innocent people that died just pointless.
Nothing matters because we're all gonna die someday!
But at the first choice, if you side with Reed, then Songbird escapes on her own. In this path, Alex dies no matter what, unlike the other version where she gets to live. So V and Reed chase down Songbird together, eventually having to face a giant death robot that can't be harmed due to the power of the AI beyond the Black Wall. As V sneaks around an underground facility, she sees a bunch of Songbird's memories, all of which were specifically designed in order to make you pity Songbird all the more. I wonder if this was done intentionally in order for Songbird to manipulate V once again. And when Songbird helps you defeat the evil AI, you are once again given a choice. You can either spare Songbird by flatlining her, or you can make her stay alive so that you can get what you want from the NUSA. If you show mercy on Songbird, putting her out of her misery, you are dismissed by President Myers and you don't get anything that you wanted, even though the original deal was to save her, not rescue Songbird. But if you force Songbird to stay alive, then Myers is pleased and you get access to the tower ending, which you can also gain access to by handing over Songbird to Reed instead of putting her in the spaceship. Which just goes to show you how big of assholes both President Myers and Reed are, because they do not care about all of the soldiers and all of the innocent people that died at all. In the tower ending, V does get her life-saving surgery, but in the process, Johnny Silverhand is erased from her mind. She's in a coma for 2 years, waking up only to find out that she cannot use any combat cyberware whatsoever, making her completely defenseless in the world of Cyberpunk. All of the friends and allies that she's made throughout the course of the game no longer have time for her or don't have any interest in speaking to her at all. Her dream of being a legend in Night City is completely evaporated. At the very beginning of the base game, Dexter Deshawn asks you a question, whether or not you want to go out in a blaze of glory or to live the quiet life. And in this ending, you are forced to live the quiet life. But also, this is the only ending where V is confirmed to be alive. She's very young, I don't think she's even 30 yet, so she could live a very long time. Besides her apartments, she has access to all of her assets from the base game, including the cars, the guns, and the money. But she still has contacts in Night City, so she could be a fixer, or she could work at the NUSA at a desk job, or she could just go off the grid and live a very quiet life out in the country. She has sacrificed a lot to stay alive, but she can rebuild a new life for herself. There's hope, so this is far from the saddest ending in the game. That still goes to the devil ending and to the flatlining yourself ending.
No, please don't kill me, please, no, I don't want to die, please don't kill me, please don't.
Once you have played every possible ending for Phantom Liberty, you see the big picture. You see how they took the themes from the base game and turned them up to 11. None of your allies in Phantom Liberty are actually your friends. The only person that seems to care about V at all would be Alex, who, if she survives, is tasked with killing V by President Myers. But Alex is content just to let V die on her own. But if V wasn't dying of natural causes, Alex probably would have to try to kill her. In base Cyberpunk, all of the best endings can only happen if V has positive relationships with the people around her, including the ghost stuck inside of her head. The key to V's happiness is through her relationships. In Phantom Liberty, at best, V has work acquaintances. Siding with any of them only leads to V suffering, which is why it sucks because you have to pick some sort of side to get an ending for Phantom Liberty. Picking Songbird at the first choice is obviously the worst decision because there are so many different people that suffer just because of this choice. At worst, a complete tragedy at an airport occurs for no reason when you hand Songbird over to Reed, or at best, you send Songbird up into space where she could theoretically get healed or just get turned into a weapon by someone else. Or you could side with Reed and transform Cyberpunk into alien isolation. If you choose to keep Songbird alive, then V gets an ending that she absolutely hates. Not only that, the federal government gets access to a weapon of mass destruction that's going to bring about the end of the human race. Honestly, the best possible ending is just showing mercy on Songbird and putting her out of her misery. Songbird and Alex are dead, Myers is absolutely pissed, Reed is disgraced, and V doesn't get anything that she wants from this at all. But V isn't in bed with a bunch of feds who are going to ruin her life anyway. Songbird is free, Myers doesn't get access to a weapon of mass destruction, and Reed gets to build himself back up after seeing the flaw in his thought process. Through the Relic and the Devil ending, we see how bad the idea of survival at all costs can be. Eventually, people are supposed to die. Things are supposed to end. Consequences are meant to be faced due to your actions. In Cyberpunk, we see all the time how terrible of an idea it is to try to live forever. Reed has the idea that his team needs to survive no matter what happens, that as long as you're still alive, then not all is lost. But there are clearly worse fates than death. You can see this with the relics. You can see this with Songbird if she survives. Currently, I'm rewriting one of my books called I'm Still Here, which is all about how immortality is not good for anyone.
I don't think I could ever do what you do.
Why, you think you're better than me? I'm tired of always being the bad guy. What I do has to be done.
Everything has to end eventually. If not, it just decays into nothingness with no meaning. And there are a lot of negative consequences if you try to prolong something way past its expiration date. Just look at the endings where you side with Songbird. She was all about preserving herself and her freedom above everything else, to the point that countless people suffered because of her. But Reed's obsession with keeping Songbird alive is going to lead to a lot of destruction that we will never see. President Myers with unfiltered access to Songbird's powers is bad news. So the best ending is just to accept that this was never going to work out in the first place and just let it go. And if V decides to do that, then Reed will eventually admit that she was right in doing so. And once you've completed everything Phantom Liberty has to offer, you can go back to the base game with a new lens, appreciating everything that the game is saying. Through this lens, Phantom Liberty fixed Cyberpunk in every single way possible. When it came to the gameplay, when it came to the graphics, when it came to the performance, when it came to the story, when it came to the themes, it's all better now.
Oh my god. I get it.
Over the course of a year, I have replayed through Cyberpunk multiple times, going through every single mission and reading everything that I could in the game. I've rewatched the anime and have read this book. I have become obsessed with this world to the point that my vocabulary has been forever altered. 2077 has become one of my favorite games ever made. I love experimenting with the different play styles, and all of this came about because of Phantom Liberty. It took one of the greatest entertainment disappointments in my lifetime and twisted it on its head. It's probably the best DLC ever made and the greatest expansion to a story I've ever seen, because I didn't even get to all of the different side content, which lets you complete it in any way that you want. Plus, Mr. Hands. I love Mr. Hands. I can't believe I'm saying it, but he might be one of the best characters in that game. And while I still do despise Songbird, it's not like I love all of the other main characters in Phantom Liberty. They're all terrible people, I can readily admit that. I mean, after all, I assume that President Myers ordered V to be stripped of her ability to use offensive cyberware. In fact, Myers probably would have just had V flatlined if Reed didn't beg for her to stay alive. Remember, survival at all costs. I mean, Reed is obsessed with keeping every member of his team alive no matter what, and now V is completely defanged. She is no longer a threat to the NUSA at all. And let's not act like Reed couldn't have reached out to V's loved ones at any point over those 2 years. He definitely tried to isolate her so that she would have to rely on him and the NUSA. So, you know what? You too, Reed.
Hate, 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 hate. Double hate. Loathe entirely.
So basically, Phantom Liberty told us to trust the federal government just as much as we trust corpos, meaning not at all. And you know what? Fair advice, I appreciate that. Honestly, with all of the different updates that came out with Cyberpunk, I am completely pleased. With only one exception being that I would have loved if they had some sort of battle coliseum in Dogtown, but what are you gonna do? Not everything can be flawless. And considering that Phantom Liberty took a big pile of trash and turned it into one of my favorite things ever, I can't complain all that much. You know, besides the fact that Cyberpunk was almost irredeemably bad at the start of all this, but they did pull off a miracle, so I gotta give them that. But that doesn't mean that I have to forget where this all started. I'm never gonna forget, and you shouldn't either. But what do you think now that Cyberpunk 2077 is all said and done? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you forgive it? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, if you disagree with all of this, that's fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
Good night, Valerie. Today was a good day.
Thank you all so much for watching.
You're still here?
Good night, everybody. Thank you. You bye. Boom.
Do not despair.